This footage you're about to see, I really shot without any intent of making a show out of it for my YouTube channel, but then I got to thinking that it might be good information for those of you out there that work out in the outdoors. One thing you want to really be aware of when you're out in the woods, especially if you're on, Forest Service ground or Park Service ground, is to stay out of riparian zones or any areas that might, shed water during a storm. So if you're in a trough where it's focusing water into a channel, even if it's a seasonal or just runs water only during a storm, at least here in California, you probably will need some kind of permit to work inside that zone, or have a forester come out and mark it to stay outside of that area. There's different parameters that you follow depending on the size of that drainage. So if it's seasonal and runs only during a rain, that would be one distance you'd have to stay away from the center of the course of water flow. If it is seasonal and only runs full time through winter months, that would require a different setback that you can work up to, but not within. And then if it's year-round flowing water, you have to stay even further away. So it's something you definitely want to check on, because if you get caught by a California Forestry and Fire Department official or Park Service official or Fish and Wildlife official, any of these folks can write a ticket if you're outside the requirements. And it's easy to get yourself in trouble, because there's so many different definitions of Class A and B and C streams, that type of thing. And I think different states have different classification ratings, but that all boils really down to the same thing, and that is they don't want people disturbing water courses and waterways. They certainly don't want you altering stream beds or the course of water within a stream bed. So if you're brushing or you're aiding a road and need to put in culverts, things like that, you want to check with the local authorities to make sure you don't get yourself in a bind, because those tickets can be very pricey. It's not just a little slap on the wrist. Even if you're a first-time offender, the old saying is to just go ahead and seek permission later, or just do it and ask for forgiveness later, or whatever it is. That doesn't always work in this day and age, so it's better to ask those questions up front. So anyway, I'll just use this as the introduction to this little video I shot, and the purpose of it really was for, in case I ended up in court with an official from California Fire and Forestry who was trying to say I'd overstepped the perimeter of a riparian zone along a full-time river. It was not seasonal, it was year-round flow. And we had a forester come out and mark the line that we weren't supposed to cross. And what had happened, I think what happened is I believe it was Thanksgiving, a holiday actually. Today's the day after Thanksgiving 2020. This occurred the day after, on Thanksgiving holiday 2019. And I think what happened was the owner of the property had a big party there for Thanksgiving, and there were a lot of folks there with their cars and quads and dirt bikes, things like that. And they were really having to get creative to find parking for all the vehicles. And I think what happened is one of the folks that were there ended up crossing the line with either their quad or their small car or whatever, and made some tracks on the other side and kind of skinned up the pine needles and things, to where obviously something had been there, but it was not our heavy equipment. And the forestry guy was trying to say it was us and wanted to write me a ticket for it. And I refused that. Refused to agree with that, and so he brought out his supervisor, and ultimately everything was dropped. They agreed with me, and they were very cool about it. But at the same time, I was a little bit concerned that I was going to have to pay a big fine. The figure of $10,000 was mentioned, so And that's not a fun place to be, because a lot of times jobs like this don't have that kind of profit in them. You could go out and do all this work, you end up with a fine like that, and you end up not only being out the profit from the job, but actually paying out of your own pocket to have been there in the first place. So anyway, here's the video. So this is the area in question here. You can see there's a ribbon right here in this tree, and one right there on that tree that delineates the WLPZ zone. So roughly about right here where this rock is, right here, you can see that, my foot, that is about where the line would be, where the WLPZ zone starts. And you can see there is definitely something been in here, but if I use the camera strap and maybe sweep some of this pine needles and duff aside, you can see there's no damage. There's really nothing here that we should be talking about that constitutes. And you can see over here there's like activity from a gopher or something, but it's not from any equipment or vehicles. I'm hoping this shows up on the screen. And then over here where the tracks are, or kind of were, they're kind of, you can hardly even tell they're here now, because the guys have sprinkled some pine needles on them and so forth. This is just a big, what they used to call it, a nothing burger, back during the last election cycle. It's just a nothing. And you know, I could get on my soapbox about what it takes to be a contractor in this era in California, and how destructive this type of oversight is that I have to answer to, not just with CAL FIRE, but Fish and Game and other authorities when you're in the, you know, construction business and out in the outdoors logging and doing underground utilities and grading, which is what we do. Here you can see a log, looks like it got shoved, and there left a bit of a, you know, a little plow mark there. But in the course of removing these logs from here, we're allowed to drag them out with a rope. We're just not allowed to drive past this line that's been delineated by these ribbons. And there's the next ribbon is, I don't know if I'm going to zoom in on it from, so there's this ribbon here hanging in the tree branch, and then if you look closely, hopefully I can zoom in and it'll show, yeah, you can see it right there. So we have not, absolutely have not gone across that line down here, but you would think we had, just simply because of all the bark and tree limbs and things that are falling off these logs. And you can see the guys have even laid some wood down here to mark where we're not supposed to go by. So all of this was here before we even started. All these trees were felled by PG&E crews or the Park Service crews. We have nothing to do with it. And all we're here to do is clean it up. Here you can see this rock, and you can see on the left side of the rock, our equipment's been tracking up to that point, which is where the line is for the WLPZ zone. And then on this side over here, you have bark and sticks, and you know, the ground looks like it's torn up underneath, but it's not. It's just from being walked on and from having the logs drug out. There was a bunch of logs in here a few days ago, and here, and right here. So the way I see it, we're doing a heck of a lot of good in here by mitigating fire danger and just generally making the area look better for people and giving people access to the property to enjoy, and to, you know, threaten me with fines and over something so small just seems really counterproductive. Now, I understand that, the forester, law enforcement for forestry definitely serves a purpose, and I respect it very much. But the purpose should not be to harass contractors. Guys like me that log and cut trees down and make their living that way, we live job to job pretty much. We can't afford to be paying huge, completely inflated, overinflated fines. In my opinion, I don't have any idea what Brian's talking about on that particular incident there. But now the reason I'm walking back this way is because I just found out from the owner they had a huge family reunion here in which 30 or 40 cars were here, all vying for parking spots, which very well could have been the cause of that ground disturbance back there. And we're going to come clear up here to the other end of the property where we have not even been close to. And I'll show you some more ground disturbance that had nothing to do with us. And it looks very similar. In fact, it probably doesn't look like much now because I kicked it in the other day with my boots and just kind of knocked it down. But it looks like it's a little camping spot where people might come to have a campfire and enjoy the view of the river. But here you can see there's rocks that have been displaced. Something's spun here or whatever and torn up the ground a little bit. See that rock there is displaced. See how it's ruffled up? And that's exactly what it looked like over there before my guys put pine needles down on it and raked it out and made it look better. So, as you can see over here, it's just a boulder field. And eventually we will make our way up to this point. It looks like they have it over there today, this morning. And the plan is to clean all these logs up, all these rounds. Over there is another boulder field. I'm just trying to get the job done, make my customer happy, get paid, and move on. That's all I want to do, is make an honest living. I'm not trying to take the easy road, going on welfare, filing for some make-believe disability. That's not me. So anyway, if this film ends up being used as evidence or anything, I hope it helps, and I hope folks realize that guys like me that are out in the woods, we all, for the most part, we're all nature lovers. The last thing we want to do is harm the wilderness. We're just looking to make it better and hopefully earn a living in the process. Thank you.
So hey guys, if you like the content on this channel, well, you might check out our other channel. It's Father and Sons Investing, and it's all about encouraging your kids to think about their future and invest in their future. So check it out. Hope to see you there.